Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start our program. So if I please may have your attention, and if you would please take your seats. There are some seats that are on this side if you're coming in right now. And we do have three seats up front, and 3 seats over here on my, I would say my stage right. Okay, on the right side. So. Good morning. I'm Mary Robison, and I would like to welcome everyone to the Palm Beach Civic Association's Candidates Forum for the March 10, 2026 town election. And we are honored to have some of our public officials with us in the audience this morning. Would you please stand? I know I saw our mayor this morning, and I saw there's Bobby Lindsay, Bridget Moran. We welcome you. We certainly thank you for all that you do for our town. I'd also like to express our appreciation to the Episcopal Church of Bethesda by the Sea for allowing us to use this room for this morning's forum. And now will you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Since the Civic Association was founded 82 years ago, we have remained steadfast in our mission to educate and inform our residents about key issues that affect the quality of life in our town. Community engagement, empowering our members to play an active and meaningful role in the preservation of Palm Beach, continues to be at the heart of what we do. And the Civic Association now has more than 1,600 members. And we would like to see that number certainly grow. Today, you will probably find on your chairs a brochure on joining the Civic Association. If you do have an interest in joining us, there is a QR code. I think it's also certainly worth noting our communications initiatives. We present to over 5,000 subscribers a weekly newscast. That's through Palm Beach TV, through Our Town, written by William Kelly, and we also have a Studio 33480. This subscription is complimentary, so if you wish to receive news each week pertaining to everything that's happening on the island, I would encourage you to subscribe. Again, it's complimentary to our Palm Beach Civic Association communications initiatives. Also today, our members are wearing a little sticker saying, "I am a proud Civic Association member." If you are not a member and wish to speak to somebody that is a member, I would encourage you to do so. And as I said, we would like to see our numbers certainly grow. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our chairman of the Palm Beach Civic Association, Michael Pusillo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning and welcome to the 2026 Candidates Forum put on by the Palm Beach Civic Association. Our 2 candidates today vying for Group 1 Town Council seat at the March 10 municipal election are incumbent Lew Crampton and challenger John David Corey. Lew and John David, welcome to today's forum. The moderator of our forum today is Michael Williams. He's the former WPTV Channel 5 anchor. Many of you know him and recognize him for his many years on television, giving us the local news. And he's also a professor at Lynn University. As Mary noted, there's a long tradition of the Palm Beach Civic Association doing political forums such as this. In my view, it's one of the most important things that we do as an organization, going back to the days of Bill Brooks, who also, of course, had a long association with Channel 5. This is an opportunity to learn more about the issues and the candidates' positions on the issues. Election day, as I indicated, is March 10th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There are 3 polling places in the town: the South Fire Station, the Mandel Recreation Center, and St. Edward's Catholic Church Parish Hall. There is no early voting for the municipal election. If you wish to obtain a mail-in ballot, You must do so and request it from the Supervisor of Elections office by 5 p.m. on this Thursday, February 26. And you may do that by contacting the Supervisor of Elections office in person, going in on their website, or calling them at their number, which is 561-656-6208. Now, before I introduce our moderator today, I want to mention that in addition to the questions that have been put together by the staff of the Civic Association, and the staff put these together and nobody has seen these questions, we also do want input from our audience. So there are on your seats, you'll find little cards with pencils, and you can write out a question if you have it for the candidates, and staff from the Civic Association will be going around and collecting those. And at the conclusion of the questions asked by our moderator, we will have those questions. He will read those questions, or some of those questions at least, to the candidates and get their responses. It's my pleasure to introduce Michael Williams, our moderator, who will go over the rules for the forum with the candidates. And I would now ask the two candidates, Lew Crampton and John David Corey, to please come to your positions on the podium.
First of all, thank you for having me.
John.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
And as we go over the rules and we welcome our candidates, let me go over those one more time. The rules for today, which by prior agreement, both candidates have seen and signed off on. By random number pick, again, agreed to before this, Mr. Crampton won that random number pick. He will have the opening statement, and he will have the final closing statement. Each candidate will be given up to 2.5 minutes to make his opening statement. And in advance of this forum, they were all told, or both candidates told, that they should address the following 3 points for you. Why are you running for the town council seat? What are your qualifications? Why are you the strongest candidate? And again, that was something that we told them about. Beyond that, all these questions are questions they have not seen before today. After the opening statements, I'll begin with questions. They will be directed to both candidates. They'll each take turns responding to the questions, and they will have 2.5 minutes each to respond to the questions. We'll hold up a 30-second card when they have 30 seconds left, and then I will politely, at the end of your time, say it's time to move on. Again, the Palm Beach Civic Association has worked diligently, as it always does, to understand the concerns of the community, and the questions that we will ask are largely the concerns that you've brought to them, that they have then coalesced and condensed into questions you will hear these candidates asking. After that, there will be the audience questions that you heard about. For the audience questions, we've already gotten quite a few here, so thank you, and continue to fill your cards out. The audience question responses will be 1.5 minute responses, not 2.5. Strictly for the audience questions, that will be 1.5 minutes for those. At the end of that, at the conclusion of both the regular and audience questions, each candidate will be able to answer or ask a question of their opponent. And each of you will have 2.5 minutes to respond to the question from your opponent. And then finally, you will each have up to 2.5 minutes for closing statements. We ask the Palm Beach Civic Association, its very charter and name, civic, civil discourse, the ability to talk and to have civil discussions that enlighten and inform, and we know that all of you believe in that strongly. Let me make it very clear. At the opening, we will have applause for the candidates, not during their responses, no reaction to responses. We ask that you do not clap. If in any way, although I'm sure it will not happen, but if it does and a candidate is interrupted, I will add to their time to respond to the question. But I know that will not be the case. I had the pleasure of being at this forum 2 years ago, and I know what a wonderful audience all of you are. So thank you very much. Give yourself a round of applause for caring enough to fill this room. So, without further ado, we will begin up to 2.5 minutes with the opening remarks, the opening statement from Lew Crampton. Sir?
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Civic Association, Father Tim, and Bethesda by the Sea and all of you for showing up here this morning for this great exercise in democracy. This election is about managing change. We are not the same town we were 10 or 12 years ago when we were arguing about undergrounding and firing our town manager. My record here in town over the past 8 years, the marina, $15 million a year in revenues to the town. The rec center, providing our young families with up-to-date and wonderful quality of life. Office hours. I've received literally hundreds of requests to help make the bureaucracy in our town operate more smoothly. My 6-point parking plan. If you have a sticker on your car, you can thank me for having spearheaded that program through council. Town finances. Since I've served on the council, our millage rate, which calculates taxes, has gone down by 20%, and our annual budgets are always in the black. My priorities for the next term: complete the code reform. I approved an excellent comprehensive plan which serves as the town's blueprint for controlling growth. But that job is not finished. We must complete the review of our zoning code, which is back in the 1970s, to close the loop on having an effective regulatory regime. Protecting our town's beauty and architectural heritage, that's our second priority. Preservation, I'm working on a 3P program. First P is preservation. We have 360 buildings now under landmarks, and we need to have more. The second P is planting. I directed town staff to prepare a master plan for tree planting for the town, and that plan is underway. And the third is paving. Paving is tied to undergrounding. So controlling growth and development. I'll continue to focus on approving only town-serving projects and won't authorize any project that results in traffic or parking impacts that exceed vested rights of the owner under our code. I look forward to this debate as a means of continuing my passion for public service, which is why I am running, and exposing the contradictions in my opponents' promises and plans.
Mr. Crampton, right on time. And now, oh, and by the way, that's a good reminder. Make sure, except for you, Sally, because we need her to do strict timing. All of you, please make sure your phones are on silent so that we do not interrupt our candidates. And now up to 2.5 minutes for candidate John David Corey. Sir?
Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully you can all hear me here. Good morning. Thank you for the Civic Association and the Bethesda by the Sea providing the venue. As Lew said, this is democracy in action, and I'm really proud to participate. For those unfamiliar with me, probably not that many, but for those, I have a strong educational background, having attended Milton Academy, Boston College, and MIT. My expertise lies in finance, real estate, preservation, and design. Those tools I have leveraged to establish a company, restoration of historic homes in downtown Boston, and I take pride in a real estate portfolio and a design portfolio. 15 years ago, my husband Miguel and I relocated to Palm Beach, captivated by its beauty, rich history, and welcoming community. Shortly after our arrival, I became activated in the town and founded a group called Palm Beach Walks, which focused on making our town more walkable and safer. Through collaborative efforts with the town staff and the DOT, we made significant strides, including installing the first bike rack at Town Hall, to establishing crosswalks near Palm Beach Day Academy at the request of a mother there, and enhancing the lake trail, especially at the Flagler Bridge. Years later, we formed the Friends of Lake Drive Park with my neighbors to improve the park near the marina during its renovation. We developed a comprehensive master plan that incorporated crosswalks, native plants, and walking paths, transforming the park into an oasis for that residential neighborhood. These two initiatives demonstrate my ability to identify problems, brainstorm solutions, and take decisive action to enhance our quality of life for the benefit of my fellow residents. Additionally, I serve as a long-term member of ARCOM and vice chair, and currently a director of the Palm Beach Civic Association and member of the Four Arts. However, my most significant achievement has been creating the Residents First platform to highlight and prioritize the well-being of our residents. It's disheartening to witness the rapid transformation of Palm Beach in the recent years, primarily driven by commercial interests. This has led to a traffic crisis and negatively impacting our quality of life. I'm committed to bringing about positive change through innovative ideas, renewed energy, and active engagement.
Thank you very much. Our first question will now go to Mr. Crampton. And again, both of you will have up to 2.5 minutes to respond to the same question. And yes, traffic will be one of the questions. It's been curated today a little later in this forum. Florida lawmakers, sir, as you know, even as we speak, are in the midst of changing how we look at property taxes, how much, where, and when. Talk about eliminating non-school property taxes with protections for police and fire. Still, it'll be seismic change. Many welcome it. Many are worried about what it will mean to local funding. What are your views on drastically reducing or perhaps even as somewhat eliminating property taxes? How do you deal specifically with that potential loss of funding for Palm Beach?
Yeah, thank you. There are three major bills right now, House 201, 205, and 207. Each of them would really take a huge bite out of our budget. It's something that we have to consider. In fact, if the worst of those alternatives were to come to pass, about 33% to 40% of our budget would be wiped away. And that would not be a good thing for our town. We would have to find those revenues elsewhere. Where those revenues might come from other increases in services and taxes, but these are things that, you know, people don't understand that although the town collects over $300 million a year in property taxes, we only keep 17 cents on every dollar that is collected. I mean, we are going to be hurt very badly if any of those laws pass. But I do not believe that any of the most drastic measures that are currently being considered in the legislature will pass. I believe that what will happen is that there will be, that the legislature and the governor will decide and pick a number for our taxes that will. Excuse me, let me start all over again. I believe that our taxes will be, why am I doing this? The problem is that our taxes,
Take a brief moment.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Take your time. Take your time.
yeah, I'm picking any tax. I don't know why I can't think of the tax, but essentially it's the tax that, the homestead tax. Basically, the homestead tax will be raised to $100,000, and it will not be, right now it's at $20,000. I think the compromise position that the legislature will take will be to raise the number, the exemption on the homestead tax to $100,000, and that will be the compromise that folks actually come up with, and we will have to live with. Thank you.
John David Corey, same question.
Okay, thank you very much. As Mr. Crampton said, our tax bill, only 17% stays in the town. So I would argue that we run a very efficient town government here. I've gone through the budget. I have a great background in finance, 10-year discounted cash flows, looking at the plan. We will not be hurt as many as other people will be because there's a lot of waste in other parts of the government. Mainly at the state and county levels. So I do think that the study of elimination of property taxes is a good study. You know, it's like having an election. It puts people out there. It makes people look at their budgets again. So I do think it's a good exercise that we go through. You know, like Mr. Crampton said, will it pass? You know, probably not. It's probably going to be a homestead exemption type of increase. I think we're at 50,000 now, go to 100. And I do think the town could manage any type of property tax decrease with either user fees or keeping the budget pretty close to where it is now. So I'm not that concerned. I actually do think, though, that the exercise, again, is a positive exercise, and it makes people really scrub the budgets, especially at the county level.
Briefly to both, moderator privilege here. You both spoke rather generically about a crucial issue. What specifically are you worried about would be the critical cuts, your words, that could happen, and how would you protect that, and what would you do to make up for that? First to you, 30 to 45 seconds for
Would you
each.
repeat that question, please?
What would you, your words, you worry about what could happen. You
Yeah.
have to plan for worst
Right.
case. What are the most critical cuts you worry could happen? How would you protect against them, and what would you give up in order to do it?
Yeah, what could happen is that we would defer important capital projects
Such
like
as?
the Midtown seawall. We could defer maintenance on other particular important programs that we have. Our public safety and security would be hurt because of the residual loss in revenues over time. That we would have several problems as a result of all of this.
Mr. Corey?
Yep, thank you. So the police and fire,
Specifics,
yeah,
please.
police and fire are excluded from the reduction. So it's about $40 million right there that's quote unquote safe. So what is the next biggest piece? Public Works. And most of that is part of the capital pay-as-you-go. So there'll be line items in there that will have to get cut. There will be resiliency projects that are needed on the island that will get cut then. Like, as Mr. Crampton said, the Midtown seawall, that's already been pushed back a few years. Could we, increase the dunes for shorter money? But I think we can mitigate some of that. But even the Bradley Park seawalls and resiliency, I think those will take the most hit.
We'll continue to keep an eye on what happens in Tallahassee. Now to a 2.5-minute response from one of the questions the Civic Association put together in concert with input from the community. We'll begin with you, John David Corey. Palm Beach's water contract with the city of West Palm Beach expires in 2029. What do you see as the best solution for the town going forward? How would you go about implementing your solution? 2.5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I was here, many of you were too, 2 years ago, and this question came up, and we're still in the similar situation. Right now, as you know, our water comes from the plant in West Palm Beach, and we've had a water study done. Actually, the study was done in 2022, so now it's 4 years old, the study. And it came down to Lake Worth Beach and West Palm Beach. I would actually like to do a model like we did with the undergrounding task force. I think that worked very well. And what I like to see is the town council get together and put together a committee to work on the water, chaired by one of the town council members. And we run monthly meetings with residents. We get more people into the process, and we really work with the town staff, very similar to the undergrounding. And I think that was an amazing project. I don't think any city in town has ever done a project like that. And we're just finishing up now. It went over budget a little bit, but pretty close. So working with the resources that we have in this town, I'd like to put together this committee. I don't want to get ahead of that committee per se, but I will say it does seem like a partnership between West Palm Beach and Palm Beach is where we're headed. A real partnership where we have an ownership interest. Maybe we set up a commission where we're both taking ownership of the plant. We have the resources, we have the expertise, and actually we can help them get better water too. So we're really going to have to work together on that. And I hope to be a leader on that front.
Sir, Mr.
With respect to
Crampton,
the
same
current-
question.
Yeah.
The water contract, as you know, expires 2029. Best solution in your mind going forward, and how would you implement the solution?
Best solution right now would be to move forward with the city of West Palm Beach. There are two options right now. One is the city of Lake Worth Beach, and the other is the city of Palm Beach. And we right now are getting 23 to 30% of our water from the city of West Palm Beach. There is an agreement on the treatment technology, which is membrane-based technology. It's very expensive. This project is going to end up costing $700 or $800 million to close to $1 billion if we go all the way with it. The cost data for either of these projects is opaque. We don't have any data right now. So to make a decision right now is very, very difficult. We have the opportunity to take a 5-year pause while we put together the kinds of committees and the data acquisition processes that we need to have. That is within our possibilities of doing. But we do need more time, and we need more opportunity to analyze what is available in front of us. The cost data is not there. With respect to Lake Worth Beach, there is a disadvantage that everyone must consider, and that is the disruption that would happen to town if the Lake Worth Beach project were to go forward. Essentially what happens there is that water pipes run down the middle of the street, and the Lake Worth Beach project is not connected to our piping system at all. That means that if you thought undergrounding was a major problem for us, connecting with Lake Worth Beach is undergrounding on steroids. That's a major, major difficulty. So we have time, we have agreement on the treatment method, we have two potential suppliers, but we need more details. The idea of linking up with the community and getting input from them is a good one, and we would do that. But the council and staff need to be working very closely with the city of West Palm Beach. We have a good relationship with them, that's effective right now, and I feel that that will be the most successful opportunity for us to pursue. Thank you.
We will now begin, Mr. Crampton, with you taking this question, and then Mr. Corey, and we will go back and forth. Development and its effect on the residents, a major issue, of course, in the town and has been for some time. Property development requires a balancing between property owner rights and how a given development, as all of you in the audience and you at the podium know, and how it affects the larger community. Do you believe the town is getting the balance right? And if not, what specifically would you do differently? Sir.
I believe, first of all, that we have a very good comprehensive plan. I worked on it, I helped develop it. I think everyone feels that the comprehensive plan is an excellent blueprint for our future. But what we're missing is the zoning code, and putting a zoning code together that is updated. The zoning code we have was built in the 1970s. It's a 50-year-old code. It does not fit the reality of our situation. Right now, our town is working hard, our council is working hard, our committees are working hard to review that zoning code. And that particular process, once it's done, and it'll probably take about a year to do, but when that process is done, we will have the kind of regulatory structure that we need. A great blueprint in the comprehensive plan and a set of very detailed regulations that will deal, first of all, with density in our residential areas and intensity in our community areas. I think that we cannot make decisions in the commercial development that go beyond what the property owner has vested by right in their property, and that every one of our decisions that we make in commercial areas is a town-serving decision. So I think that we are on the way to solving this problem and to getting the balance right, and that process will be complete when our zoning code is finally evaluated, approved by the council, and communicated to the town.
John David Corey.
Okay, thank you. Certainly, Mr. Crampton and I disagree on the direction of the town at this point. I would just say that we have a zoning code, and so folks know there is almost nothing that can be built in this town as of right. The only things probably would be a house in the north end that meets the quantitative section of the code. There's almost nothing that can be built that does not require a variance or special exception. So when we say things like the zoning code is broken, we have folks that are adjudicating cases on the zoning code, and they are making decisions that are affecting the quality of life for us. So one of the things that I'd like to see, if I could get on the council with your help, is to study the governance in the town. And one of the things I mean is twofold. One, possibly a board of adjustment. Maybe the planning commission can take back the zoning adjudication of the variances and done in a level that is done pre-design, so that the variances can be pre-digested before the applicant gets going. And then the second piece is, I also think that when it comes to commercial development, we have a code. It could be followed, but what happens is many votes or in the town, or it's 5 council members, and many votes come down 3-2, and it's a simple majority. So I'd like to work with a governance commission we could form together, and then we put residents on there, we have it chaired by a council member, and we think about things like maybe certain votes or variances need a supermajority. Could they be 4/5 required to get certain things over the threshold? Yes,
Please boil this down, 30 seconds.
Yep.
It's just a very precise answer for our audience, for what it means to them. Does this ultimately, in your mind, mean more or less commercial and residential development, more or less density in this town?
Less. From 77 meet and greets that I've had in the last 2 years, the residents want less. And I guess my point is, Michael, is that the zoning code allows for that. But many times, the elected officials break open the zoning code to allow for more.
Mr. Crampton, same 30-second response.
I disagree with John.
You talked about changes. Does ultimately your plan and changes to the code for this audience mean more or less commercial development and residential development, more or less density in a town where that's a concern?
We have to make balanced decisions. I don't agree with John. John's approach would be to put a bell jar over the town and say nothing else could happen to it. That would be the worst thing that could happen to our community. We would stultify. We are making good decisions right now on council, and the decisions that we are making will last with us. Most people love it here. Most people like being here. Most people like the cultural. Most people like the dining options that we have. We want to keep those. We don't want to stop things in their track. We simply want to make good decisions based on a revised and strengthened code and the wonderful comprehensive plan that we have right now.
Does it tilt toward more development?
Pardon me?
Does it tilt?
That's development.
Does it tilt toward more development or less?
More development or less, I would say make good decisions and create a balance, whether it's more or less. That's a Hobson's choice. Basically, we're talking about a balanced approach.
Thank you, sir.
Since I was referencing that, can I rebut?
Let's move on. You can use some of your 2.5 minutes if you'd like, because we're talking about an impact of development. And
Okay.
our very next question, one that from audience questions is heavy on your minds, because it's most of my audience questions. There have been several measures put in place. We'll begin with you, Mr. Corey. Several measures put in place to address traffic and parking problems in the town in the last few years. Do you believe these measures are effective, and what else can and needs to be done going forward?
Okay, I would just wonder really quickly about the last piece to close that up. I think he said that I wanted to put a bell jar around the town or something like that. I mean, that's silliness. The point, though, is that if I was able to serve on the council, one of my legacies could be the fact that we have different governance in the town, and we're not always relying on 3 people to make the decision.
Thank you, and please address the traffic concerns that seem to be paramount for some.
Okay, very good. So certainly we put together, the town has put together a program where they have the bridge timing, where they only open once per hour during rush hour. The barges for the Bonefish Cove have been mitigated so that they don't have the tower, they don't need to be opened. Those types of measures can be effective. Lengthening the hours of landscaping and commercial activity is fine. The problem is that the workers tend to work 7 to 3. You just can't seem to get that out of their habit. So you have a north end trade route at 3 o'clock that's very disruptive for those folks. For me, I think there are also more opportunities that we can pursue. The biggest bottleneck is clearing the island in the afternoon. That is the biggest bottleneck. It's mainly coming out of the north end. How do we get the cars off the island fast? And sometimes it's the bridges that clog it, sometimes it's the trains, but most of the time we go across the bridge and then we're stuck at light after light after light. We're all there. West Dixie Highway, always stuck there. And we don't understand why 3 cars go by, and then we have literally all the way back to Green's Pharmacy, and it's just stacked up all the way through. So I would really like to work with West Palm Beach and the DOT and put together a task force on how do we classify certain hours of the day. I would say, you can even make it very tight, 3:30 to 5:15, that become an emergency time period where the lights are absolutely sequenced So once you get onto the West Palm Beach side, that traffic can flow, and then the emergency backup that we have here starts to clear. I think that would be a great first step to try to clear the traffic in the afternoon off the island.
Sir, thank you very much. And now, Lew Crampton, sir, up to 2.5 minutes, traffic issues and how we address them.
I am not a traffic engineer. John, I appreciate your views on that, but I'm not sure that they accord with reality. Let's set the record straight on traffic. The cause of bad traffic here is not development. The cause of bad traffic here is post-COVID growth. We have had tens of thousands of people come to our county. We're one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. West Palm Beach is the next big city. Wall Street South is sitting across the inlet and coming for us. That is the cause of the traffic. All of those folks that have come in here, fleeing winter and fleeing before COVID in the Northeast, that is what is creating the problem for us. For us, the traffic problem comes down to 4 particular reasons. One is when President Trump is here, the town is cut in half. 10 or 12,000 cars that ordinarily go over the southern bridge now are in the middle bridge and on the north bridge. The second reason is the trades. That's the parade of little white trucks that we see every morning. They come in here and they work for us. We invite them over to walk our dogs, wash our cars, do our electrical work, and the rest of it. The third major cause of traffic here is tourists. There are some bad TV programs out there right now that are extolling the virtues of Palm Beach as a place to come and visit. That's not a good thing. And the fourth reason for our traffic problem, again, not commercial development, but the bridges. The bridges go up and down, and when they go up, we are stuck. But we live on an island. We bought into that, and so that's part of our situation. What have we done, as John pointed out? Hired extra police, a new AI software. We're shuttling workers across the bridge. We have work hours flex and so forth. 2 years ago, I voted for a zoning in progress that suspended increases in restaurant seats and new development in restaurants. We examined that process over a year, and we rejected that ZIP, the ZIP, because there was no major relationship between restaurants and eating opportunities and drawing traffic into Palm Beach. It's entirely wrong. The reason we are stuck where we are is because we are the victims of our own success and our popularity as a town.
Are we going to get unstuck? 15 seconds.
Pardon me?
Are we going to get unstuck? Realistically, the picture.
I would say this.
And then you.
Is it John or I?
Just a brief response.
Yeah, I would just say that based on my discussions with our chief of police and our town manager, that the number of complaints this year as compared to last year is decidedly lower. Traffic is, I'm not saying it's resolved, it's not, but traffic is getting better, and that's because of the reasons that I stated before.
Thank you. Before we move back to Civic Association questions, a brief response, because people hearing this are like, can we get unstuck? To some degree, it sounds like geography and otherwise you can't. Can we?
Well, geography is a problem. I understand that. But I do think that many of it is self-inflicted. We have to stop the spigot. The town council, Lew, just approved the 300-seat restaurant at Almond. I mean, we can no longer keep approving more attractions and more restaurant seats on this island and think that the cars are going to magically come and go without going over the bridges. It's a major problem.
Thank you. And since you referenced him specifically, 15-second response to what he just said about.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't approve it only. I mean, the entire council
Understood.
approved it. And as a matter of fact, hold on.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, it's the same number of parking spaces as existed before.
0.
That's ridiculous. I mean, it's the same number of parking spots for that restaurant as the restaurants had before. Nothing has gone beyond what that owner has by right.
We will move on to the Palm Beach Civic Association's next question after consultation with so many in our community. And Mr. Crampton, you will be first to answer. Federal funding for beach renourishment at Midtown Beach. You all mentioned Midtown in your previous remarks. But federal funding for beach renourishment's in jeopardy because perpetual easements are required by the government from all property owners in the project area. Several property owners are objecting to perpetual easements. What would you do to ensure federal funding stays in place? Sir?
Well, we are stuck with a federal issue with the federal government that says that access to the beach has to be done by our constructing people, by our beach renewal people, has to be done by a perpetual easement. We've always gone by a temporary easement. Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case anymore, and we run the risk of losing roughly $50 million in federal funding for beach renourishment. The current project we have is a federal project. We've been able to muster enough money, about $16 million, to do an important beach renourishment project that's going to be taking place on Midtown Beach. It'll be happening in roughly a week or two. That particular project, we had to come up with $3 million ourselves because the property owners to the north did not want to participate. And I can understand why. All along, we have had a situation where people have had the use of their property from the rack line, that is the seaweed line, back to their property. That has been their property. And now people are walking all over it. That is a problem for those people, and I can understand. But we're stuck. We are stuck with the federal interpretation of the Water Act, which says that if we're going to pick up the beach, if we're going to put sand on the beach, there has to be a permanent easement and not a temporary easement. That is not our fault. And that the only way we can stop that is to go to the White House and convince the president, or go to Congress and get another law made. But those are the governmental restrictions that we have very little to do. Still, we are making do. We are coming up with our own money, $3 million, and we do have federal money. We worked out a special deal with the Corps, a one-time deal with the Corps that will allow this project to go forward. But after this project is done, we have 6 years to figure out some kind of solution to this problem. And that will take good work, hard work, on the part of people on the council and our staff.
Sir, thank you for your time. And on the same question, John David Corey, what do you do to ensure federal funding stays in place?
Thank you for the question. I've been up to, as they say, Ocean's 11 to those folks. I've met with them in their living rooms. And it's not a pleasant scene to see the beachgoers through there and the trash and what's happening to our neighbors. I understand that the projects have been done with temporary easements for a very long time. What was interesting is that Mr. Crampton said that we got a one-time exception, right? In my book, that's a door that's been open. And I would not want to do anything as far as taking private property rights away by forcing a private easement on them. Basically taking the beach in front of their homes that's private and making it public. I think that's a major problem, and as a town, I don't think we should be supporting that. So if I were on the council and I was tasked to work on this case, then I would do everything that I can to get another exception and keep fighting. I think most people in this room know that if you give me a project, I just keep going. So if you give that to me, I will just keep marching, and then we'll push it through to keep going with those temporary easements. It may not be easy, but you have to be persistent. You have to keep working at it. And I would do that for the residents.
Thank you. We're going to move on. Year-round, 24/7 flight restrictions around Mar-a-Lago have significantly disrupted the quality of life, many town residents say. Is the town doing everything it can to resolve this? And if so, specifically what? And if not, what could or would you do differently? And we will begin with you, Mr. Corey.
Okay, thank you. Well, when the restrictions went in October 20th, that was a wake-up call, very quick. And I do think that the town leadership did not take, I would have taken probably stronger action at the beginning, either with a letter straight to the government, to the FAA for explanation. We waited several months to take action to finally sue. I think it was a full month. in that regard, the FAA has shut us down. They don't want to talk to us. Now there's a lawsuit. What I would like to do is, if I get to serve, is work with those residents. Now, what was interesting is that, when we have an issue, many times, like in my neighborhood, we worked together, we formed the Friends of Lake Drive Park and got action taken. So we have very affected residents that are affected by the flight path, the noise, the pollution coming out of the air, falling onto the cars. I mean, it's not just the noise problem. And they put together a petition. There were 1,600 people signing that petition. Could the town work with those people to help advocate? Many times it doesn't, many times it takes a group of people to make change. And that's my MO, is to really helping people to advocate for themselves. So I think using the petition and those individual residents in helping that group to get change, I actually think that's probably the best course of action. There's a lawsuit out there. There's all that business. It could take years to solve that. But political pressure at the right point from the residents and the voters, I think that's very powerful.
Mr. Crampton, same question.
Yeah, the FAA move was a complete surprise. It probably emanated from the White House, from the Secret Service, protecting the president. The issue that we can't understand is, why is this happening when he's not here? We all understand the need to protect the president. In terms of knowing what's going on with this issue, I serve on the noise committee that has been set up at the airport. And I know that the airport had no notice at all of what was going to occur. John pointed out, and he's right, that the town and residents should be working together. I am working with the coalition, the Clear Skies, the Quiet Skies Coalition, on an almost daily basis. And I have found them a lawyer who can perhaps file an inverse discrimination suit that would allow them to follow that path as individuals alleging property damage to their properties. At the same time, I'm the person on council who made the motion to sue the federal government. That was passed unanimously by all of our folks on the council. And finally, in the deliberations that we've undertaken with on the noise committee, I was able to secure an additional noise monitor for the town. We didn't have one before. In fact, we have one now that isn't working on the corner of County Road and Island Road that they are going to be repairing at my urging. At any rate, it's important to set up several monitors all over the area to make a case for when when our issues are finally heard in the D.C. Circuit, on the 9th Circuit in Washington, D.C. That likely will occur in about a month and a half to 2 months from now. Our suit has been joined by the county and by the city of West Palm. So the three of us are suing together to basically allege violations of the Administrative Procedures Act, the Environmental Protection Act, and the Historic Preservation Act. That is what our suit is all about. We are there in court. Our lawyers are working together, and we have found an effective outside aviation lawyer to help us as well. We are making progress, and the babbling of my opponent on the right is not dispositive.
Question number 7, and we will begin with you, Mr. Crampton. Change is inevitable, and Palm Beach is no exception. To some extent, you both have spoken eloquently about that. Is the town changing for better or worse, and why? Mr. Crampton?
I believe it's changing for the better. Part of the reason for that is that our population does shift. A lot of the older residents, the ones who've been around for a long time, are now starting to move across the inlet into those large towers. And what has happened to our town is that some 300 to 400 or maybe more younger residents have come to town and have made their own demands and their own suggestions to how we could be a better town. I think that our town is definitely doing better. When we did our strategic plan, we actually had a survey issued at that time. 90% of the residents 2 years ago said they were happy living in the town of Palm Beach. I'm happy living here. I believe every one of you is happy here, living here. And it's important to make a good choice today. So yes, I think that life in Palm Beach is getting better. I think that life in Palm Beach does have its drawbacks in terms of the traffic. As I pointed out, that's an issue where when you get out on the road, you have to pack your patience. And I know it's hard when you're cut off by someone in a ball cap and a $450,000 car as you're at the intersection. But that is part of the good thing of living in our town of Palm Beach. Patience, understanding. We love it here. This is still paradise. We belong here. We're happy here. And even though we have drawbacks, the main reason is that we are all happy here.
John David Corey.
Thank you. So certainly there are things that are better and things that are worse. I think that the infrastructure, the aesthetic value and beauty of Palm Beach is better. Great projects, we have the resources, undergrounding projects, beautiful houses and buildings and gardens, the preservation of even the south end of our 1960s buildings that are being preserved, all very special. Where I find that we're not doing so well is the sense of community. What happens is that I have, in a room like this is community. This is our people. These are the voters. These are the ones that I'm talking to and hopefully will put me up on the council. And when I do my meet and greets, we send out the invitation to voters. And that sense of community is really special. But what happens, though, is that it tends to get diluted very quickly. So when you go to Worth Avenue, and you are a part of the town, and you're on, at different restaurants in town, or you're partaking in the activities, you tend to not see the people in your community as often as I think people used to see. And does it become this more transient place that the residents do feel affects their quality of life? And I think that if I am elected, I hope that I could bring that sense of community back, help that. And I think it demonstrates from my campaign. My campaign is all about bringing people together and talking about the issues. All the events are open, they're in the public, I put them on the website, people come, we take photos, and we exchange ideas. So that part of Palm Beach could be better. And if I'm elected, it will be better.
Brief follow-up for both of you about what we've been talking about, sort of end where we began with the formal questions. Property taxes, we'll see what happens. Do you support, or do you see a need possibly, or do you rule out absolutely drastically increasing user fees if need be to make up for potential lost revenue?
If the property taxes get cut, it will have to be user fees.
Significant?
I don't know the answer. If significant is a relative word. I would probably go for the user fee from people coming onto the island. We have something they want. Maybe we hit them up first, and then if we can't get it all that way, then we come back and as a community we sort of make a decision whether or not these services are something we're going to pay for.
Mr. Crampton, same question.
Yeah, all of that is going to have to increase. Unfortunately, as I said before, roughly 33% of our budget will be out the window if the most draconian of those three bills actually passes. We have a user fee that I actually helped develop, and that's the parking fee. Yes, you residents get free parking after you've paid a $50 fee for the sticker. That's a bargain when you consider that a ticket is only $60. But what do people from West Palm Beach and outside the area have to pay? They have to mess around with Park Mobile, which is very difficult to manipulate anyway, and then they have to pay a fee. That's a user fee, and we should find more of those.
I want to ask about one question that's a bit of an elephant in the room. Give each of you a chance to respond, then we will move to audience questions. PACs in Palm Beach. The Palm Beach Daily News talked about the newly formed recently Palm Beach Neighbors PAC, raising, according to its estimates, some $264,000 and endorsing you, Mr. Crampton. Some say it creates divisiveness in a community. One council member said that. We do not need it. Those who support it say it's our democratic right. We want to make sure our voices are heard. Why did you take the PAC money? What do you say to the concerns and the support? And then you'll have a chance to respond, Mr. Corey, and we'll move on to audience questions.
Well, look, I didn't know what this was about. John and I were both invited to an interview at the Beach Club. When I got in there, they said, we're going to tape this interview. And if we tape it, will you consent to it being broadcast? I said, sure. They also told me that they'd be making a choice between the two of us as to whom they would be endorsing. That endorsement came to me for whatever reasons. I was not involved in the process. They discussed that. They made that decision. Do I welcome this PAC? I do. It basically is made up of local people, very transparent. All of the donations are uncovered. They're supporting me based on the merit, on the comparison that was made between my opponent and me in what is almost a debate. I would also point out that a recent newspaper article in our shiny sheet linked my opponent to 2 PACs. And both of those PACs, neither of those PACs exist in the town of Palm Beach. One is a shadowy group of developers in Boca, and the other is a Washington, D.C. based federal PAC. Now, John may not like the fact that they are supporting him, but they are supporting him. So both of us are supported by PACs, but my PAC is made up of local people, some of the same people who created our Police and Fire Foundation, one of the most respected and honored organizations in this town. All of those people are named and known, and so I welcome their support.
John David Corey.
Okay, thank you. I was also invited to the Beach Club. I thought it was for lunch, but it was an interview, which is fine. And listen, the well-respected members of the community, I went to the interview. It was filmed, and actually I have to say that I think I did a great job.
But I did better.
I heard Susan Gary there. I appreciate that. Okay. I think it actually went great. They asked if they could publish this video. I said, well, let me see it first. I don't want to look like a boob. I don't know what this video is, AI. And I said, let me see it first. They said, no, you can't see it first. I said, well, I said, you guys might have a lot of money to support my candidacy, but I think it's better for me not to get involved. I said, I'd rather you not put the video up there. If they want to show it to me first and I can take a look at it and everybody can see the video, I think that'd be kind of fun. But at this point, they have not shown me the video, so I said no. So I actually, to some extent, it was a liberating act. Now, I might not have the support of a $300,000 war chest, which is, a formidable amount for an election. Little me running again. I think most people know in the room that I am not controlled by a Boca developer or a PAC in D.C. Being here for 15 years, and I think people know pretty much about my soul. There is another PAC, I guess, that's been saying things about you, Lew. It's probably unfortunate to some extent. It's nice to have a little bit of firepower. I don't know what's coming because I'm not involved with it. But that's where we are now. I guess it's politics in this day and age. When I ran last time, it didn't exist. The campaign was probably easier without them. I will say that. And because I could control the message, it was all coming from me.
We will now move to audience questions, up to 1.5 minutes to respond. I will say, and then let me make clear to the audience, after audience questions, each of you will have a chance to ask the other a question.
After the period of audience.
After the audience questions.
Yeah.
First, we'll do the audience questions. I will say they seem, as I'm going through them, to fall overwhelmingly into categories about traffic, about the overall feel and vibe of the town. We'll begin with you, John David Corey. Why are the local mom and pop businesses leaving? They bring charm to our city. Up to minute 30, please.
Right up my alley here. This is a great question. Businesses like, Green's Pharmacy, where I run my meet and greets, to Surfside Diner, to Aristokids across the street, Trillion on Worth Avenue, and Casale's. These are legacy businesses that I'm afraid that they are going. Look at the Paramount Project. You have, it's not a legacy business, but you have Chickmunk Coffee in there. they're not going to have a home anymore. That was like a niche spot for them. And I do think that it's up to the town council to ensure that these businesses are viable. On me and my campaign, I never miss an opportunity to promote them, whether I'm in someone's home, or I'll say I got the coffee from here, or I bought at this restaurant, or whatever it is. Local businesses, I always promote, but I do think it's a responsibility of the town council to make sure they do get protected. We're going to have a project on South County Road coming soon. We have a lot of legacy businesses there. That would be top priority for me, top priority.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Crampton, local mom and pop businesses, why are they leaving? This audience member asked. They bring charm to our city.
Yes, they do. And I share John's concern about the corporatization of the town of Palm Beach. I share his concerns about that with respect to the project that John just mentioned, the one on North County Road. I don't believe those shops, Aristo Kids, the Boys and Girls Club, even that vacuum store, they should all be able to stay there. And if this developer would like to see that project approved, I think he's going to have to listen very closely to those of us on council who feel that our wonderful mom and pop stores should be preserved and should be kept here in town. We'll do everything we can to make that happen. Unfortunately, on Worth Avenue, that's a different set of situations. But North County Road, Poinciana Plaza, all of that is stuff that we should keep on holding on to, because that is what provides our small town uniqueness and charm. Thank you.
Sir, a question that was specific to you, but you'll both have a chance to answer it up to a minute and 30. Please explain your rationale behind voting yes on the Paramount.
Say again?
Please explain your rationale, this audience member says, behind voting yes on the Paramount, according to this.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
First of all, it was a difficult question, no question about that. And I understand the opposition to the Paramount. But we reduced the owner's original proposals, which were gargantuan, down to a quivering ash. There's very little left of that proposal as he first proposed it. Moreover, what we have left is well within what that developer can do by right in terms of the amount of traffic, in terms of the amount of parking that can be proceeded. Let's take a look at what we did with the Paramount. First of all, Paramount is de-intensification, not intensification. That whole second floor, which could be retail, which could be offices, and could be even apartments, that's a single family home. Think of all the traffic and so forth going back and forth that is not going there because it's a single family home. Moreover, the club is open only from 6 o'clock. Finally, this is a town-serving project. 70% of the members of that club, the number of which has been reduced considerably, have to be town members. This club is controlled by the town. If you allow the developer to do what he wants to do by right, you have no control over it. The town creates the town creates the operating parameters for this club is going to do by over the next several years. Thank you.
Thank you. John David Corey.
Okay, well, I didn't get to vote on the Paramount.
Sure, but
as
your
we all
thoughts
know.
about it.
But I would like to comment on many of the things. Mr. Crampton mentions if a project gets done at South County Road, we want to protect those small businesses. Right? So why didn't Mr. Crampton take a leadership role on protecting the small businesses at the Paramount? And right? Okay.
Your time.
Okay. And we have, like I mentioned, Chickmunk Coffee. We have Caniglio, the daughter of the ex-mayor, have the store. We have the wine store. We even have the Civic Association upstairs. I mean, I would argue the building as it functions today is exactly what the zoning code says. Community town serving. That's the district. Community town serving. What does community town serving mean? It means local businesses that residents in the area can walk to for services and also for goods. So actually, the irony is that the building as it stands now is functioning exactly as the zoning code. I would not have supported a private club. A private club does not allow the space to be used for the community. It's exclusionary by definition, and that goes against the code in my opinion.
Thank you. Most of the questions I said, I'm curious for a show of hands. On a daily basis, how many of you, the audience, raise your hands, would say traffic is the number one thing driving you nuts? So there you go. And most of the questions. So we're going to give you another crack at that.
Oh, good.
One person talked about it being intolerable on the roads. Another said oversized landscape trucks are clogging our town streets. Another one writes, perhaps after you both began to speak on this, I'm not sure, but wrote, what new specific actions can the council take or do to lessen the traffic congestion? You saw the show of hands. In plain English, what are you going to do besides studies? One other person said we've been dealing with this for at least the last 8 years. We'll begin with you, John David Corey.
Okay, thank you. First of all, we have to shut the spigot off. We've approved so much stuff. We've fueled the development on this island. And the development takes construction trucks, landscaping trucks, and the such, and services. So that would be first and foremost for me. I do think that the traffic situation, we should look at it. I mean, I hate to use the thing again, but the underground task force was very effective. Why can't we tackle these ongoing problems in the town? I don't want to, like this is like an ad, but together. We could do it at the town council. The town council ran one meeting last year, but could it be an active task force to start tackling the issues? I mean, I've come up with some ideas. I'm not a traffic engineer, but certainly clearing the roads in the afternoon because everybody's stuck at quadrille trying to get out of here and there's nobody in front of them. It doesn't make any sense at all. It seems to be common sense to me. So I think there are simple measures, but I think that we need to work together and a real tight task force to tackle the issue.
Mr. Crampton, you saw the show of hands. The demand for action is now.
Now.
What is your response and your answer, sir?
Traffic is traffic, and it is due to the fact that we are such a successful community and due to the fact that so many people have moved here post-COVID. We cannot set up a toll booth on the bridge and allow only people who have a 33480 area code to come into town. We can't do that. We don't own the streets, so we can't take control of the streets, John. Those streets, many of those streets are owned by the state or by the county. We have what we have, and what we have done is considerable. We held a hearing, as John pointed out. 28 proposals came from the citizens, including some from John. And we are instituting 10 of those, including hiring 4 extra police and 2 police support people to move the traffic through the intersections. The bridges, we cut the number of bridge openings in half, from 2 to 1 during rush hour. The barges, those ubiquitous barges are gone now because we kicked them out after negotiating with the Corps. Shuttling, all of the major jobs in town, the major construction projects we require with our construction management agreement, we require shuttling of those workers to and from the job. AI software. Our software in town is working very well, and we are making progress with the city of West Palm Beach. Work hours flexibility. Try to get those contractors who we invite here. They are doing our work. If we didn't ask them here, we wouldn't have a problem, but we are. So that's why I'm saying traffic is traffic. It's a part of us. And still, we live in a paradise that people here all love and respect.
A question, we'll begin with you, sir. We'll have 1 or 2, perhaps 3 more audience questions, mindful of our 11:30 finish. You each are going to have a chance to ask each other a question, and then you'll, of course, have your closing statements. But an audience question, it's directed to you as you currently sit, but you'll have a chance to answer it as well. But we'll begin with you, sir. You highlight, this audience member asks, Marina and Rec Center. Given the limited access to the marina for residents, and less, they say, 50% membership at the Rec Center, how do these projects highlight and meet the primary objective of, quote, town serving?
Well, they certainly are town serving, which says 50% of people who live here, people who work here, or people who are visiting here qualify as town serving. That is the definition in the code. So it does meet it. That's the answer to your question. And let's take a look at that marina. Were it not for the marina, we would have some difficulties paying some of our bills, especially for the undergrounding project. $15 million a year, $12 million in profit, $8 million to pay down the deficit in our undergrounding project. and about $15 million in unexpended balances. That's why we have major surpluses in our town budget, so that we can withstand a major storm. And then finally, that dock out there looked like dog patch before it was renewed. Now we have what looks like a terrific facility that is a far greater upgrade than the one we had before. So yes, that marina has been a major upgrade. As far as the rec center is a response to all of those younger people who have moved into our town up around Osceola and the club up there. Those people deserve the kinds of recreation opportunities. Their kids are out there. It is a happening place. And we certainly, when John talks about community, that rec center is the center, one of the centers of our community. It's an amazing place, and it is what draws a lot of our people together. And I'm pleased and proud to have played a role in its creation.
Mr. Crampton, thank you. Would you like to respond, sir? Up to a minute 30.
Yeah, great. I'm not quite sure the premise of the question, but I'll talk about the marina and the rec center. I mean, I'm at the rec center every single day. I use the fitness center there. I usually try to get there around 6:45, do my hour. And I actually have had a lot of my meet and greets there. I have coffees in the after-school room. And Monica, that runs the Seaview Cafe, makes your pumpkin bread, and we have the coffee. And it's a true community center. And I actually think that if I get to serve on the council, I like to brainstorm different names, so not just call it a rec center, but is it a community center? I think that'd be very kind of turns the image of the building. It's very much town serving. I'm there every day, so I'm not quite sure about that part. The second piece is the marina. And certainly, as Mr. Crampton mentions, I mean, I live in that area. I grew up on boats all my life. I've been on the marina, and it needed to be redone. Councilmember Lindsay led the charge on that. And it's been very lucrative for the town. I will say that I think there was an opportunity, now we're not going to relitigate this, but I do think there was an opportunity to have slightly smaller docks on the Peruvian dock, like it used to be, to sort of encourage more residents to be able to use the dock. I think that would have been helpful to do a little bit more of a give back to the community.
Mr. Corey, this, if both of you will consent, I don't think needs a minute 30 to answer, but one audience member has a specific suggestion on traffic, said, would you consider beach user fees similar to those used in New Jersey, beach tags, to perhaps control beach crowds from non-residents? Would you consider that?
Yes.
Mr. Crampton?
I don't think they're allowable. I think basically because the federal government is paying for the sand on those beaches, that we are not allowed to charge. We do have to, in fact, provide restrooms for people, which we do, but in terms of charging beach fees, I don't believe that is within our regal province, our right to do.
Another question. There's been such division in this race, says this questioner, this audience member. Post-election, how does that get repaired? Mr. Crampton, then John David Corey, then we'll move to your questions for one another.
Yeah, I think John's a nice guy. I like John. I give John a great deal of credit for his energy and his hard work on being prepared so well for this session. This town will continue to go on and on and on. We've been around for almost 150 years. We are a close community. We are a community that likes each other. Even though there are different groups of people in this town, there are people from the South End, there are young people who moved in the middle of town, there are North Enders, there are the elderly people who live in the Biltmore and in the Towers. But we still love our paradise. We still love our little piece of paradise, and we are fortunate to live here. So I'm not going to kick John in the head after this election is over. I like John, and I'm sure that he likes me. He's a reasonable person. So that's my answer to that question.
Thank you, sir. And John David Corey.
Okay, that's quite the prelude here. Thank you. I actually think that if the voters put me on the council, I do think it ushers in a new wave into the town, a new wave of communication, of outreach, energy, and kind of an excitement. There's new energy, there's new blood on the council, there's new ideas. Fresh faces, I guess not as fresh as I probably would like to be, but whatever, okay? But I actually think that I could be that bridge to many parts of the community. And I think it's because of that outreach that I've done. South End, North End, Midtown, every meet and greet, I tend to pull the people together, and they feel energized. And I think that if I do get to serve, it will help bridge that any kind of division.
He said he likes you. Do you like him?
Yeah, gentlemen.
And you both work together no matter what.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Crampton, we are now to the point of our final questions, which come from you or each other. You, sir, have the first question to ask of your opponent, up to 2.5 minutes for you to respond, sir. And then you will have the final question of the day for your opponent. Mr. Crampton, your question for John David Corey.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a piece of John's literature here, which intimates that he supported a shining new Palm Beach marina, which annually contributes millions of dollars to the town budget. When you appeared at a town-sponsored community input session on the marina, you opposed it. You said that project was maxed out, and that was at a February 14, 2024 meeting. You presented doctored images of a boat about the size of the Titanic getting in the way of people's views from the condominiums. Chief, then...
May we please move to the question for both of you?
Yeah, the town marina is not only the most attractive upgrade of what we have. John, how would you, if you'd been successful, we would not have had these results today. How would you replace the revenues that have been lost? And are you now able to reevaluate your earlier position on the marina where you opposed it?
Up to 2.5 minute response,
Okay,
sir.
thank you for the question. It had a lot of editorialization in there. I'm very proud of my participation in the marina and the park. I know that I have the support of basically my whole neighborhood today because of my work on that park. One of the issues, the fundamental issue that came up during this whole marina renovation was that the park space was part and parcel to the marina. Why? Because of the parking for the marina was in the park. So they were connected. You couldn't separate them. The town wanted to separate them and do the marina and say, we're going to do the park later. Now, didn't go over great for the community. I called, some reinforcements. We had a very good turnout. This is what if I can advocate people, help them advocate for themselves. We had a full house at that town council meeting, and the residents were not happy for the projects to be separated. So we were able, and I was able to work on researching, finding the deeds, finding the park that it was landmarked. There's all kinds of background details. And we were able to combine the two projects at the same time. It became a public-private partnership for the park, but it was done at the same time. So I'm very proud of my, I don't know what the attack is all about, but I'm very proud of my achievement in the park. I know folks are here with ships in the marina. They seem very happy. They donated to the park, and it couldn't be more special, that place. So, and I think that the marina came out really nice. I was on ARCOM at the time when the buildings came in front of ARCOM, the 3 dock houses, and there was some back and forth, but actually those are pretty cute and look pretty good. The only thing I would say is that, again, the Peruvian dock, I think that if cooler heads prevailed, I think that the docks would have been slightly smaller, maybe reposition them or whatever it might be. I think it would have been nice to have a few more residents that have homes that maybe have a 60-foot yacht versus a 180-foot yacht could be able to use the facility. I think that would help out for that community base.
John David Corey, thank you for that response. And now, sir, your question directed to Lew Crampton.
Okay, thank you. I was always curious about one particular vote recently, and it was regarding the town budget. And you mentioned this morning, I guess now, right, that you supported the use of 4 new police officers and 2 new code enforcement officers. And actually, from my meet and greets, this is a major concern. You voted to lower the millage rate, which is fantastic, but at the cost of those very 4 police officers and 2 code enforcement officers. Why?
Well, John, if you were studying the budgets, you would know that over the past 5 years, the town has reserved a budget surplus of roughly $2 or $3 million a year. The money was in the budget to do this. What I was doing was asking to lower the millage rate because the town has almost $100 million in reserves. We don't need to lower the millage rate. I tried to get it to happen, but my colleagues on the council outvoted me. I lost that one 4-1. And eventually their reason was, well, we have some capital projects that we need to undertake. But the major capital project, which is the Midtown seawall, we've already got $16 million sequestered there and ready for that $21 million project. So yes, I voted to lower the millage rate because the town's finances are extremely strong. And what better thing to do than to recognize that and give the taxpayers a break. And that is precisely why I voted for it. And in the 8 years that I've been on the council, our millage rate has gone down by 20% over those 8 years. I call that an accomplishment and not something that should be questioned.
Thank you, gentlemen. We now come to the concluding portion of this debate, and we will begin, as previously announced, with up to 2.5 minutes for John David Corey. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, thank you to the Civic Association. People are already sneaking out. We'll just wait 2 more minutes, all right?
And in fairness, if everybody would sit.
I put some time into this. Okay.
Thank you so much.
In the Bethesda by the Sea for hosting our forum today. I especially appreciate my fellow residents for coming and listening. I'd like to wrap up with a question. And it didn't get asked today. What is residents first? Fair question. And I'm going to say a few things. It's a concept, a guiding principle that truly listens, really listens, and puts it into action. This concept is manifested through island-wide and neighborhood-by-neighborhood outreach to address local and regional concerns together. Whether we're chatting at the South End Firehouse, gathering in our newly renovated Marina Park, meeting in North End living rooms, we will work together and build consensus, build community, and solve issues. Actually, this is how we ran our campaign. So if elected, expect more. Over the past 5 months, I've heard so clearly that the residents want change. One of my biggest strengths that I can offer you is my willingness to say no when it's needed. The concerns over overdevelopment, traffic congestion, and a potential loss of our town's soul has dominated our conversations. I'm listening, really listening, and will take that message to the town council if you elect me on March 10th. We will say no together if that's the answer. We'll stop more commercial island-wide intensification where possible. And actually, what the comprehensive plan, which didn't get any coverage here today, talks about is de-intensifying the sites if possible. We will boost our town-serving amenities, our local businesses. We will boost them and change the current direction. Voting for me on Tuesday, March 10th, will make sure your voice is heard at Town Council. I think you know, I will stand with the residents 100%. No daylight between us. You have my word. We will start a new era in Palm Beach with a sense of hope and confidence that our town is in good hands. Joining me in investing in our future, and let's put residents first.
John David Corey, thank you. And now,
Pretty good.
an excellent timing there, sir. And now, up to 2.5 minutes for Lew Crampton.
I will say this again. This election is all about managing change and which candidate has the experience, temperament to best navigate those future challenges. Palm Beach is a constantly evolving community. 10 years ago, pre-COVID, our town was in a completely different place. We had very little traffic to speak of. Our population was less diverse and older. and the rhythm of our lives was far more genteel. Like it or not, we are not that community anymore. The genie is out of the bottle. Wall Street South, across the inlet, is prospering, and it's coming for us. We can't charge tolls or pass a tourism tax. Those are unrealistic ideas. These days, leadership on your council requires and demands good judgment, even-handedness, fiscal responsibility and restraint, community involvement, and a listening heart. My opponent's solution, just say no, is not a solution. It's a slogan. It ignores owners' vested rights. We own property, we have rights, and we can control them. This takes us back to a time before COVID, when Worth Avenue shops were going out of business, and your council was reviewing proposals from a consultant, an outside consultant, to quote unquote revitalize Worth Avenue, going downhill. My opponent's ideas are ill-formed, risky, and non-specific. Non-specific. The differences between us could not be clearer. I will take us forward by respecting tradition and managing change. My opponent will circle the wagons and oppose virtually everything. My name is Lew Crampton. I'm asking for your vote and for your help in this election. Thank you very, very much for being here.
And now is the time for both our candidates, Lew Crampton and John David Corey, for your applause for our wonderful audience.
Thank you, John.
And also, before we run off, I'm sure our candidates would like to applaud, not surprising in the least, a wonderfully attentive, thoughtful, and engaged audience. So how about a round of applause for this tremendous audience? And a final word from our sponsors at the Palm Beach Civic Association.